Morning News Express on WFMD. Well, a guy who's always in the news here lately, his name is Elon Musk. He, a couple of years ago, he was the talk of the town. He was, the Teslas and all the other things, and now he's the talk of the town because everybody hates Elon. And he is going to step aside from DOGE. We've got Scott Baradell, an expert on branding and consumer trends. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're good. Thank you for joining us this morning. And do you find it, because this is what you do for a living, you check trends and markets and stuff, the rise and fall and the rise of Elon Musk, it's not his product, it's the person and how that has affected his products.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's always been a personality that's been beyond what your normal CEO is in terms of his effect on the brand. But now that he's become so political since his purchase of Twitter and now his involvement in the Trump administration, it's caused a lot of polarization among consumers that, in many cases were on the left side of the political aisle and we're big fans of Tesla, and now not so much.
You're talking about, his profits being down, that plunge. I'm wondering if it's because part of it is because he's associated with President Trump, but also people are now afraid to buy Teslas because of all the firebombing going on and vandalism of the vehicles.
Yeah, definitely. And there's another factor, too, which is whether or not this is related to Elon Musk being more involved with the government than with running his business. There have been serious issues with recalls of the Cybertrucks. There have been production delays in some vehicles that were promised to come out. And so beyond this kind of brand damage of people not liking Elon and setting fire to Teslas and things like that, there's this whole issue of, has Elon Musk kind of been asleep at the switch, which has caused Tesla just not to perform very well as a company since he lost focus on it.
You would think. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess he has been a hands-on owner, CEO, whatever. You would think that he would have the people in place to be able to kind of run the ship, not into the ground, but keep it out into the safe passage through the canals.
You would think so. I mean, but, there are companies where even if they're very large, a single leader who's very involved can make all the difference. Steve Jobs is a great example. When he's been involved, when he was involved in Apple, they were doing great things. When he was less involved or not involved, they kind of lost focus. And it's quite possible that Elon Musk getting back and heavily involved in Tesla again can kind of right the ship, and some of these problems they've had could go away. But to your point, that's not going to address the issue of people hating Elon and kind of hating Tesla because of its association with Elon.
Everybody who talks about how Tesla's stocks have been down, but I've been saying the stock market in general has been down ever since all these talks have been going on with tariffs and everything. I think once the stock market, and again, I'm not a stock expert, but my feeling is once the stock market goes up, I think Tesla stocks will eventually go up too. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, you may be right. I mean, I think overall, if you look at like the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it's about where it was a year ago. And so if you look at it had gone up a lot and it lost those gains. And I think the same is true for Tesla. It was at an all-time high not all that long ago. It's been down 40% since January. But as you said, it's hard to separate how much is part of just kind of the overall reaction of the market to tariffs and other issues.
We're talking with Scott Baradell here on the Morning News Express. Has the damage already been done and it can't be repaired when it comes to this, or will Elon Musk, who, by the way, never was going to take a job forever with the administration? I mean, it did have an expiration date on it, but going back to Tesla, will he be able to repair the damage of people who were, maybe more on the left than the right to go back and buy his vehicles, like you said earlier?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, that's what happens when you you cast such a large shadow. It's very hard to make people forget that, and that's why I think there have been calls within Tesla for him to not get more involved, but to get less involved and to separate himself from the company completely. Because, to your point, this is not just a case of, a business having some segment that is alienated by a CEO's politics. This was the core customer base of Tesla, were the people that are now alienated by Elon Musk. These were, because of the nature of Tesla, you had a lot of people who were liberal, who were those core early fans of Tesla. And it's one thing to have some slice of your customer base that you alienate, but when it's that kind of core early customer, it can be hard to come back from that.
Scott, I just have one more question, and this may sound kind of extreme, but do you think eventually he's going to have to just sell Tesla to I guess, I don't want to say fix the brand, but to kind of get the brand away from politics? Is that a possibility, do you think, in your opinion?
I don't think that's going to happen. You've seen the losses he's been willing to absorb since buying Twitter. I think when you're the world's richest man, you have a lot of leeway in terms of some of these choices, in terms of mistakes you can make. But I feel I don't have any evidence to say this is true, but it feels like it's something that's such a core part of his identity that I can't imagine him doing that. I can imagine him taking a less visible role or trying to have his name be less attached to it. But it's part of who Elon is. It's part of his whole mythos. I think he'd see it as a huge personal failure if he had to do that.
Yeah, listen, Tesla's become part of his identity, so I agree. Scott Baradell, the consumers and trends expert, is there a website you want to plug to our listeners?
Well, I can plug my book, which is called Trust Signals, Brand Building in the Post-Truth World, which touches on issues like this, like politics and how it affects what people think of different brands and things like that. So you can get that at Amazon if you just Google Trust Signals. That's
actually interesting book. All right, well, thank you, Scott. We really, truly appreciate you coming on the Morning News Express and waking up early with us, even though it is a Friday, my friend, right? So you got the weekend to look forward to.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.